Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us again on our Living with Wildfire mini-series. We are here today with Deb Harris of the North Coast Unified Air Quality Management District, and she's here today to talk about the burn permit program and burning vegetation, specifically for residents in Trinity County. So thank you very much for joining us, Deb, and we'll roll right along.
Thank you for allowing me to participate in this program, and I appreciate the opportunity to discuss our permit program and burning vegetation with the residents in Trinity County. As you can see, we have our logo in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. That shows the counties that we cover for our rules and regulations and how we service the people of these 3 counties. If you'll note the photos on the screen, I want to call out a resident of Trinity County on the right. That is a little guy who was on a burn that was conducted last week over in the Weaverville Basin by the Watershed Research Training Center. And he has his own personal handmade Nomex suit. And we'll move on to the next slide. As I said before, these are the district boundaries, the 3 counties that our district covers, which is Humboldt, Del Norte, and Trinity County. We service resources and the public within these 3 counties for air quality regulations, which includes burning. And the map shown includes burn zones and designations. Next slide. So the air district's responsibility is focusing on public health and smoke impacts. Our job is to protect public health. We work with the public health directors of each county, and we have a burn program. And part of that burn program is a smoke management program. And that is for larger burns that meet certain criteria so they can burn outside the regular pile size or multiple piles, or to get rid of large amounts of vegetation or broadcast burning. We recognize the benefits of prescribed burning in the prevention of wildfire. When you choose to manage your property, you have all different types of resources available to you. And if you choose burning, that's when you come into our purview. You burn on your property, you're responsible for your smoke. We're there to help you get that burn done with the least impact to your neighbors, and therefore you have a successful project. The other part of our burn program is wildfire and district wildfire response. Our job there is also to protect public health and provide the most accurate wildfire and smoke information to the people that are very much affected by smoke and the general population, including schools, public health officials, and interested parties. Now, our work with the public health officials, we work directly with them when we reach levels that could trigger evacuation needs or shelter in place needs, special things that the public health officers need to designate. It comes from them, they order evacuations, etc., due to air quality impacts. So we work with the 3 counties, public health officials, and OES in Trinity, Humboldt, and Del Norte. We definitely work a lot with the school district to provide information to the schools and any parents interested, and teachers, anyone that wants to get on our email mailing list for notifications regarding health effects from smoke and what the recommendations are for school activity. We also site and deploy air monitors and sensors within the district during wildfire season and for large prescribed burns. We do have stationary monitors that are permanently located in all 3 counties. We deploy temporary monitors in response to wildfire and prescribed burning. We do have sensors that we have obtained that we have sited mostly at schools and fire stations and locations within remote communities to subsidize the monitoring information that we get each year. Next slide. So as I said, as a property owner, you have tools in your toolbox to manage your fuels on your property and to address what you need to be safe, to meet defensible space requirements, and basically just to make your property safe and enjoyable for you. So some of those are mastication, open burning, lop and scatter, chipping, and a new one that is recently kind of under development within the district is air curtain incinerators. These are slowly gaining traction, and I think they're going to be used a lot more in the future. I can't say enough about the opportunities and resources that are available from fire safe councils, the Watershed Research Training Center, and other entities such as the Trinity County Resource Conservation District that provide invaluable assistance to people in the public with grant programs and have suggestions for you in dealing with the fuels on your property. When you choose to burn as a method of disposal for the fuels on your property, that's when we come into play. And our job is basically to help you get your project done as safely and as quickly as possible, because we recognize that um, smoke over extended periods is not helpful. Burning it as quickly as possible, but as safely as possible, really is the goal. So we reduce the impact to your neighbors and you from the smoke, but we still help you get your project done on time. Next slide, please. So the district issues approximately 7,600 burn permits per year. That's a lot of permits. The main small permit for properties less than a half acre is a standard permit. These permits have to have a residence on the property, and they are for a 4-foot in diameter pile. And for Trinity County, the burn hours are 6 a.m. to 1 hour before sunset outside of fire season. But during fire season, that burn hour goes down to 6 to noon. The other permit that we have is the non-standard. This one is kind of a flexible permit. It is for people who have larger than at least a half acre or more. And if you are just a resident, you have a half acre and you're cleaning up around your property and you don't meet the requirements for a smoke management plan, you can get a residential or fire hazard reduction non-standard permit, and that will allow you to burn in a 10-foot pile with burn hours of 6 a.m. to 1 hour before sunset. However, if you are burning and meet any of the conditions listed on the screen, like burning multiple piles, burning larger than a 10-foot in diameter pile, broadcast burning, 3-acre conversion, timber harvest plan, burning more than an acre in a calendar day, or burning near a sensitive receptor, then the smoke management plan conditions come into play. A residential non-standard permit, you don't need approval from me. You just call up, make sure it's a burn day, and pay attention to where your smoke's going, because you are responsible once it goes off your property. So you don't want it to go up and off your property, loop down and go into your neighbor's backyard and into their house, because that doesn't benefit you or your neighbor. When you do meet the requirements for a smoke management plan, then you deal with me and we'll talk more about what is required in a smoke management plan. We renew the plans every year. They're good for the calendar year in which you purchase them. And they're for burning vegetation grown on your property. Next slide. So here we are in the smoke management plan rules. Say you are a property owner and you 3-acre exemption logged your property. Well, state rules and district rules and the California Code of Regulations, Title 17, sets out what's required in a smoke management plan. So these plans are made to address health impacts from smoke. And everyone has the same requirements, from the Forest Service down to commercial timber harvest, timber operators, registered professional foresters, private property owners, everybody. If you want to burn more than a 10-foot pile and more from 6 longer burn hours, larger pile size, or if you've logged your property, meet any of those requirements, then you're going to fall into the smoke management plan requirement. Next slide. So smoke management plans, as I said, if you meet any of the criteria, the applications are located on our website, and I'm always here to help if you need help completing the forms. You need to complete all the pages, and one of the requirements in there is a bird's eye view map showing where your property is and what's around. Understand that I know you live in a beautiful area, but I don't live over there. I live over here in Eureka, and so you need to show me where your property is and what's around so I can look at that and say, oh yes, there's a school a quarter mile to the north. Okay, that's good. And I can basically look at all the information you complete to know exactly where you're at and what's around you and say, oh yes, this plan looks good and I approve it. And you can access that plan on our website or calling me at 443-3093 extension 122. Next slide, please. So we've talked a little bit about sensitive receptors. That's part of what we want you to protect as in part of a smoke management plan. They can be schools, highways, hospitals, care facilities, subdivisions, cities, daycares. Basically, where your smoke will impact a large number of people or sensitive people, which are children and the elderly and people with health problems. As you can see here, this is a prescribed burn that was conducted in the Weaverville Basin, and you can see the plume in the background, and the smoke management plan had conditions placed on it that would do everything to ensure that the smoke would not be impacting the school there or populated areas. Next slide, please. So here is the first page of a smoke management plan. As you see, this is for a little bit larger. This is from the Forest Service. So the project name is on the left-hand side. So if you're a private resident and your last name is Brown, you would put your project as Brown. If you had a ranch and you were burning multiple places, you could say Brown Corral or Brown feed pen or Brown upper pasture, whatever denotes the different types of locations you're burning on. And then your burn location, this could be your address, legal description, Latin longitude, and then you have broadcaster piles. Are you broadcast burning? Are you pile burning? So this is meant to use for all different types of projects. And then you have the number of acres reflected at that burn site. And then if it's piles, you have the number of piles and the pile size. Now the next one is one of two most important locations on this form is the wind prescription. I want you to think of this as your property has a school a quarter mile to the north of you. So if you have 30-foot piles or 20-foot piles or whatever size piles, you're not going to want a south wind that will blow the smoke into the school. That's what this information in this location is really meant to convey. So you would want a north wind that would blow the smoke to the south. So that's the wind prescription. And then in remarks, you're going to note here, oh, I have a school quarter mile to the north. I have Highway 3 is east 2.5 miles. Whatever meets those criteria for sensitive receptors will be listed on the far right category. And then this is all this information comes from the rest of the forms in the plan, but it's all on one page. So when you call in to get your burn authorization, I can pull this up and give you an authorization with all this information at hand. And then the bottom is signed, that tells it's good for 2 years. So this tells you when it expires. Next page. So we talked about a little bit about mapping, and I'm just giving you an example of some of the maps that I have made and I have received. And you can see here, if you were looking at something over here in Eureka, which is a map I made, there's a pin in where the property is, and you can see everything around it, and you can look at that and go, oh, okay, if that person burns, then the wind prescription on their plan, I can see that it's going to be okay. So the same thing for your plan. It doesn't have to be this detailed for residences. This Google Earth that I use is free to people and it's pretty easy to use. But once again, if you need help, I'm always available to help with mapping. Next slide. So here's the thing we don't like to really bring up, but this is what we want to avoid: complaints and violations. So you have a burn permit, you're burning, and I've given you an authorization, or you don't have a smoke management plan and you're burning it because it's a burn day. And someone calls and says, "Oh, my neighbor is burning, the smoke is coming up and right into my back door." We take complaints by phone, by fax, by email, by walk-in normally, but we're closed due to COVID traffic. Complaints are logged, and then we have a compliance division that deals with them. So it's up to the inspectors in the compliance division to evaluate the complaint and discuss with the claimant the issue. When it involves open burning and prescribed fires, I get involved because I know where I have approved burns, and the people, I have their contact information. So if you do have a smoke management plan and you're in an area where we've received a complaint, I'm going to call you up and I'm going to say, "Hey, what's your smoke doing? How's your burn doing?" And I'm going to talk to people and say, "Hey, do you see any other smoke in the area?" And I've had people say, "Oh yeah, my smoke's doing this, and but there's this guy burning up the street and it's really looking pretty bad." And so we found out, that who was actually doing the burning. But then if I call in, you're saying, "Oh, it's not doing too good, I'm going to shut it down," or, "I'm going to put a blower on it." We work with you. And then if it's really bad and our inspector confirms this, or a second party, like the fire department, comes out and says, "This is really bad, it's not a good day for you to burn, you need to put it out," then you're going to put it out and we'll work another day. So that's complaints and violations. Next slide, please. So here's the contact information for the district. Um, there's our physical address, there's our email. You can email with general questions. You want to find out something about some other area or any kind of information about air quality, we will try to help you with that. So you can use the support email. There's my information. I'm the burn program coordinator. I work for prescribed burning and wildfire. So you can contact me anytime. The number for burn day information is also listed. And then we have our complaint hotline you can call if you have a complaint. You can also submit that to the support email. So pretty much that is what I have for burning. How's that?
Thank you very much. That was fantastic and some great information that was provided by Deb Harris today. And so we hope you all enjoyed this presentation and continue to come back to join us again to learn more about Deb and how she works with wildfire and smoke monitoring and works on the smoke forecasts, as well as many other agencies that we have participating in this Living with Wildfire mini series. Thank you so much.
Thank you.